What's up, YouTube? This is the Serial Thriller Broadcast, and today I'm going to be talking about Annabelle. Annabelle is directed by John R. Leonetti and stars Annabelle Wallis and Ward Horton. Here's a who. I couldn't resist. Now, I figured since my last review was about The Conjuring, I might as well go ahead and do Annabelle next, because it's sort of a prequel-sequel that came out the year after The Conjuring, and stars Annabelle, who is featured as sort of a framing device in The Conjuring. Annabelle tells the story of Mia and John, who are soon-to-be new parents that start experiencing paranormal activity when two cultists break into their house and cause some havoc. After the cultists are subdued and they think they're safe and they're free and clear, they start realizing that the Annabelle doll has sort of taken on the spirit of one of the cultists that was in their house. And shit hits the fan from there. A lot of people didn't really care for this movie. The director was mainly known for his cinematography. This is one of the first major ones that I know of that he's directed. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because you'll notice this movie is shot really well. It's shot beautifully, actually. I think it might even be shot better than The Conjuring. The cinematography is very spatially aware. Like when you're in any of these settings, you sort of know the layout by the way that the director chose to show the houses and the interiors. There's sort of these shots that follow sort of handheld walking shots that show you down the hallways and which rooms where, so you kind of know what's going on, which is pretty cool, because there's other movies like, I've heard this as a common complaint with, for example, The Purge, where there's people walking around in the house but you have no clue where they are because you don't know the layout of the house. This movie is quite the opposite. There's lots of sort of wide-angle shots from the back corners, so you see where the kitchen is in relation to the living room and the hallway to the bedrooms and everything like that. So I thought that was something that was pretty cool. In the same vein as the sort of spatial sense you get from these shots, there's also a contrast that I found from the interiors and exterior shots. The exteriors, for the most part, are sort of very bright and welcoming, and they kind of give off that 1960s flair. The movie's supposed to take place in 1969. Whereas the interior shots, you get this sort of dark, forbidding sense, and it makes sense because most of the scary stuff happens when the characters are inside in sort of this claustrophobic space. A lot of people found the scares in this movie sort of derivative, but there's a couple reasons why I found them original. One, I'll just say, the first thing that happens in the movie, I remember sitting in the theater vividly, and there's some blood that appears on the screen with a big noise, and the person in front of me literally like screamed as loud as she could. It was kind of hilarious. Didn't really take away from it because it still freaked me out, but I think that when a director can scare you with just blood, that's pretty impressive, especially because that's something that's been done before now. But really, just the imagery of some blood getting splattered on the wall was enough to make everyone in the theater jump. Another thing about this movie that I found was original in the way that it scared me was you get these scenes where it's not like one thing jumps up and then you wait another 10 minutes and then another thing jumps up and there's sort of this downtime in between. The way that that things sort of happen is almost like a slow build-up. The characters will sort of notice something's amiss, and you know, for example, the woman walks over to her record player, and you've sort of just seen something and you're not sure what it is. It's in the reflection of a picture, and then all of a sudden as she walks over there, there's nothing by the record player anymore, which is just turned on by itself, and there's something over at the window which the character doesn't see, and there's no sort of sounds to accompany this, so it's all very subtle. And then as the scene goes on, things start ramping up. She starts getting freaked out by some of the things that are happening around her, and it sort of just like builds on top of it. So you know, you start out and you're getting pretty uneasy, and then all of a sudden these things start happening, and it's like, it's freaky. Something that I found out when I was researching the movie was that there's a lot of sort of Easter eggs that they put in that relate to Rosemary's Baby, which is a classic horror film. Now, for example, one of the ones I'll tell you about is that the characters are named Mia and John, which is actually sort of an homage or a shout-out to the original actors who played in Rosemary's Baby. There's actually quite a few more that sort of intertwine, and it was really well done, because I didn't notice it at all. But they're sort of all woven throughout the story, and there's a lot of cool content there. So if you like the movie, or if you liked Rosemary's Baby, you should definitely check that out. So, I obviously chose to buy Annabelle on Blu-ray. One thing I'll say is I actually did prefer this movie to The Conjuring, which I know isn't the popular opinion, but I think it was, for one thing, scarier. It freaked me out. It kind of made the hair on the back of my neck stand up at many more points than The Conjuring did. I found the story and sort of the relation to the occult and some of the references they throw into Helter Skelter and stuff like that were just really interesting and well done. So I'm going to watch this probably more often than I'd ever watch The Conjuring. And it's probably, I'd have to say, my favorite horror movie of 2014. Favorite of 2014. This has been the Serial Thriller broadcast, and if you feel thrilled, chilled, and fulfilled, hit the subscribe button and let me know what you thought in the comments below.